Every time you see someone chasing more money, even though they already have enough, it seems like a natural part of human nature. But is it? If you traveled back tens of thousands of years, you would find no billionaires, no bank accounts, no stock markets, no giant corporations. You would find only humans trying to survive, hunting today so they could eat today, gathering food before it spoiled, living in small groups where owning more did not necessarily make you more powerful. But at some point in history, something profound changed. Something that made humans never feel satisfied. Something that transformed need into desire, desire into ambition, and ambition into a race with no finish line. So when did greed begin? Was greed born with humanity? Or was it something civilization itself created? The real story is far stranger than most people realize. For most of human history, people lived as hunter-gatherers. Food was limited, possessions were few. There was little reason to accumulate things. If you gathered more food than you needed, it would spoil. If you carried more than necessary, it would slow you down. Sharing often made more sense than hoarding.
In many ancient societies, people who shared their resources gained more respect than those who kept everything for themselves. Then, about 12,000 years ago, the agricultural revolution changed everything. For the first time, humans could produce a surplus, more grain than they immediately needed, more livestock than they could consume, storage systems that could preserve resources for months or even years. Suddenly, there was something worth owning, something worth protecting, and something worth stealing. This was the birth of wealth. People were no longer relatively equal as they had been in many small tribes. Some individuals began accumulating more than others, and with ownership came anxiety. Because the moment you own something, you also gain the possibility of losing it. Then came cities, then kingdoms, then empires. Money gradually became more than a tool for exchange. It became a symbol of power, a symbol of status, a symbol of success.
But your brain did not evolve at the same speed. Much of the human mind is still adapted to a world of scarcity, a world that never knew whether food would be available tomorrow, a world where resources often meant the difference between life and death. That is why humans frequently feel that more is always better, even when they no longer need more. In the 1970s, psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky studied how people respond to gains and losses. They discovered something remarkable. The pain of losing a certain amount is psychologically stronger than the pleasure of gaining the same amount. In other words, the fear of losing money is often more powerful than the joy of earning it. This helps explain many modern financial behaviors, why people hoard wealth, why they avoid risk, and why some continue accumulating fortunes far beyond anything they could ever realistically need. But the story goes even deeper. In the 1990s, neuroscientists began studying the brain's reward system. They discovered that dopamine is not simply the chemical of happiness, it is largely the chemical of pursuit. It motivates you to seek, to strive, to chase the next goal. The problem is that dopamine quickly declines after a goal is achieved. Then the brain starts searching for another target, and another, and another. The finish line keeps moving. That is why many people do not feel fulfilled after reaching financial milestones. The brain was never designed for permanent satisfaction. It was designed for continuous pursuit.
Modern civilization has amplified this mechanism dramatically. Advertising, social media, status competition, lists of the richest people, endless displays of luxury, all of these encourage constant comparison. And this reveals a strange truth. Often, people do not actually want money itself. They want what money represents: status, respect, admiration, recognition, a sense of importance. Research has repeatedly shown that satisfaction with income depends not only on how much you have, but also on how much you have relative to those around you. Wealth, in many cases, is as much psychological as it is financial. But if greed is rooted in evolution and psychology, can it ever disappear? Perhaps not completely, because greed is not merely a moral flaw. It is connected to survival instincts that helped your ancestors endure difficult times. Those who stored resources during scarcity often had better chances of surviving. Those who planned for the future frequently outlived those who focused only on the present. The problem is not desire itself. The problem begins when desire becomes endless, when money stops being a tool and becomes the goal, when success turns into a race where nobody knows where the finish line actually is. Perhaps that is why some of the wealthiest individuals in history never felt they had enough, and why many people continue chasing more long after achieving everything they once dreamed of. Because greed is really not a story about money. It is a story about fear, a very ancient fear, a fear born in a world where losing resources could mean death. The world has changed, but many parts of your brain still live in that distant past, still searching for more, still fearing scarcity, even when you are completely safe. So the real question is not when humans became greedy. The real question is when humans will finally realize that what they've been searching for all along may not have been money at all.